In this video, we'll be going over the best animal companions you can pick for the Ranger subclass Beastmaster, which is available starting at level 3. And at number 10, we have the Giant Frog. This beast has one of the highest health baseline values out of all the animals that appear on this list, which doesn't mean much since a Beastmaster Ranger's pet's health is equal to whatever its base HP is, or 4 times the Ranger's level, whichever is higher. So at around 18 health, once the Ranger hits level 5, then the health of the pet will no longer be competitive with all the other Ranger companions. But before level 5, it's one of the tankiest beasts you can get. Now, the reason the Giant Frog is on this list is definitely not because of its high health. And it's also not because of its damage, as the Giant Frog only deals around 4 damage on average with its bite ability. Now, the reason the frog makes this list is all because of the special feature that its bite has. If you actually manage to land its bite ability, then whatever it's biting is automatically grappled, and while they're grappled, the target is also considered restrained, but the frog can't bite another target. And the restrained condition is huge. This makes it so the target has disadvantage on all of their attacks. It makes it so all attacks against the target have advantage, they can't move, and have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. So being able to give advantage from all attacks to the target is kinda big. That's a really good ability to have, and there aren't any other companions at this level that are able to inflict the restrained condition. There are other ones that can do other stuff like knock a target prone or grapple multiple targets like the giant crab, but the giant frog is just a little bit better than them since it can impose the restrained condition, which is better than prone or being able to grapple multiple targets. The frog also has a niche feature where it can swallow small creatures, where it can basically remove those kinds of creatures from the fight completely, acting as a pseudo instant kill on those targets. It also has 30 feet of swim speed in addition to the same land speed, can breathe air and water, so there's no disadvantage of using the frog on land or the sea, which is not the case for all aquatic creatures. And of course, its nice little standing leap that allows it to jump 20 feet high without a running start. So if you don't care about your beast doing the most amount of damage, the giant frog probably has some of the best utility with its bite attack, which is why it makes this list even though every single other beast that will appear has way higher damage. And at number 9, we have the Beast of the Sky. Now, the Beast of the Sky is a spectral animal available from the Primal Companion option you can take through Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which allows you to summon a beast that has a few advantages over the normal Beastmaster Companion, and is taken in place of the Beastmaster Companion at level 3. Now, some of the benefits of the Primal Beast is that it's just able to get more health on average, as it starts off with 5 plus an additional 5 times the Ranger's level, which is definitely better than the original just 4 times the Ranger's level. So at higher levels, the Primal Beast is just going to have more HP. You can also bring it back to life easier by just expending 1 spell slot, and you can also have it attack with your bonus action rather than your action, or one of your multi-attack attacks. Having the Primal Beast attack with your bonus action is definitely the strongest part of the Primal Companion. Now, the Beast of the Sky is one of the 3 options available to you, and can deal around 7 damage on average, which is fine, but doesn't really beat out some of the baseline pets when it comes to damage. But I guess is balanced by the fact that it is basically attacking with your bonus action rather than your action. Although it does have a really nice 60-foot fly speed, and the ever so important flyby trait, where it doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity when it flies out of an enemy's range. So you can have it fly into attack and then run out without leaving it vulnerable to attacks, which is not something you can really do with all the other animal companions. Although its 7 damage that I gave is including the bonus already added to its attack. For all the other beasts I'm talking about, their baseline damage most of the time, without adding how much extra damage they get when the Ranger is able to add their proficiency modifier to everything. So without the proficiency bonus, it's more like 5 damage on average baseline, which is similar to around the Giant Frog. So the Beast of the Sky does not hit very hard, or have a trait as useful as restraining the creature that it attacks. But it does have a higher health pool and flyby, which are 2 super useful traits and why it makes this list. Just not at a super high spot, even if it probably is the most useful of the Primal Beasts. And at number 8, we have the Flying Snake, a tiny CR 1/8 creature. Now normally when you pick an animal companion, you want to pick at least a CR 1/4 since they're all bigger and meatier and attack for more damage baseline. So there is generally no reason to pick a CR lower creature, except maybe in the case of the Flying Snake. Now, the Flying Snake does have an impressively low amount of hit points at only 5 on average, which means it would die very fast if brought out normally without any kind of buffs. However, you don't get the animal companion until you're at least level 3, and the level 3 ranger would provide their pet with 12 hit points, as they have either the basic amount or 4 times your level, whichever is higher. And 4 times your level is definitely higher in this case. And really, its low hit point value was its biggest weakness, as the flying snake also has 60 feet of fly speed just like the beast of the land, and it also has the flyby trait, so it can fly in, attack, and fly out. In addition, it has 30 feet of land movement speed, 30 feet of swim speed, so it's just more mobile on a whole. It also has 10 feet of blind sight, so it can see invisible targets, and deals more damage baseline, as its baseline damage is 8 on average, which is increased to 10 damage once you're able to add the proficiency modifier. So that's almost 2 times the amount of the Beast of the Sky, although you can't use your bonus action to command the Flying Snake. The Flying Snake also has 1 AC more than the Beast of the Sky, and the reason its damage is so high is because it has a poison component to its bite, where the bite only deals 1 piercing damage normally, which is increased to 3 piercing damage with the proficiency added, and then it also deals an additional 3d4 poison damage. Unlike most creatures, which deal additional poison damage with their bite, the Flying Snake does not allow its target to do a Constitution save to take less damage from the poison. So as long as you hit, it's always going to take the additional poison damage. And that additional poison damage alone is more than the Beast of the Sky. And it's really the power of the Flying Snake. And at number 7, we have the Panther. The Panther is a surprisingly fast animal with a baseline speed of 50 feet, and a climb speed of 40 feet, so it's able to climb faster than most characters can run on land. Plus, it's able to deal competitive damage if you're able to activate its pounce trait, where if it moves at least 20 feet in a straight line and then attacks with its claw, and the target fails a straight saving throw, then you can attack with your bite attack as a bonus action. Now, normally animal companions aren't able to use their multi-attack feature, but they are allowed to use their bonus action like normal, or any other traits they might have, and Pounce basically allows the Panther to attack twice if you're able to activate its trait, which rounds out to around 9 damage on average, or 13 damage on average once you add in the proficiency modifier for a level 3 ranger. So if you're able to activate its Pounce trait, it can beat out the Flying Snake in damage. However, the Flying Snake is able to deal its damage without jumping through hoops, and is even faster with its fly speed. So really, they're kind of neck and neck in terms of usability. Since the Panther is a medium creature, technically, if your DM allows it, and you're playing a small race like a gnome or goblin, you can ride the Panther as a mount, which essentially would give you a ranger climb speed, as you could just use the Panther to climb around places, and is an incredibly useful mount to have if you want to ride your animal companion. If not the best animal companion mount you could possibly get, since it deals competitive damage and gives you a climb speed. It also has an impressive +6 to its stealth, so it can also kind of be used as a scouting tool. So the Panther is an absolute solid choice to pick, and is the pet that my BM Ranger I have in a campaign currently is running. Although there are technically 6 other pets that are just a little bit better. And at number 6, we have kind of an unconventional option, being the Stirge. This is another CR 1/8 creature, just like the Flying Snake, and is generally a bad option to take since it has so little health, even less than a Flying Snake at only 2 on average, which of course you ignore as a BM Ranger and are able to bring it up to 12 once you hit level 3. Now, the Stirge is not as fast as a Flying Snake, as it only has a fly speed of 40 feet and also does not have flyby, but it does have one really unique attack that makes it pretty valuable. You see, it has an ability called Blood Drain, where if it attacks, it's able to attach itself to the target, and then it deals around 5 damage on average when it first attaches, or 7 with your BM proficiency modifier, and then at the start of each of your turns, the target will just automatically take an additional 7 points of damage. Now, what makes it excellent as an animal companion is it completely frees up your action economy while dealing competitive damage. When it first attacks, it's basically dealing the same damage as a Beast of the Sky, but then every turn it's going to deal around 7 damage automatically without using your action, or requiring another attack or saving throw. Automatic damage is always the best kind of damage, and if you use it to fight a boss, they have to use up their full action in order to remove it, which is also a plus to you. So it would only require 1 action in order to actually land the attack, assuming it didn't miss of course, and then you wouldn't have to use any more actions to command the creature for the rest of the battle, unless the creature itself wasted its action to try to remove it. Now, the Stirge will automatically detach itself once it drains 10 hit points of damage, so it can only stay around for 2 turns. But also, technically, by rules as written, if you don't command the Stirge to do anything, it will automatically take the dodge action during its turn, and be harder to hit while it's draining blood. It might actually just be a rules oversight that it's technically allowed to do this, so a DM could reasonably tell you no to that kind of strategy, and treat the Stirge as if it's grappled while it's attached to a creature or something. There is the downside to this creature, that once you hit higher levels and want to attack multiple times with your companion, but if you don't want to waste your multi-attack on your companion attacking multiple times, then the Stirge is still a pretty competitive option. And at number 5, we have the Giant Wolf Spider. This creature deals around 11 damage on average, assuming a failed Constitution save, as its bite attack has a poison component just like the Flying Snake. Although instead of automatically dealing the poison damage on hit, the target is able to attempt a DC 11 Constitution save, which if they succeed, they only take half the poison damage. So its damage is only high if the target fails the Constitution saving throw, which is still pretty good. And of course, this is just the baseline damage. It will deal around 2 more damage at level 3 as it goes up with your proficiency bonus, but this is really high as a baseline, only being out by a couple of other higher spots on this list, of course. Although one of the distinctions the Giant Wolf Spider has over some of the more technically higher damage dealing animal companions is that it has a lot of versatility in addition to decent damage. When you gain the option to multi-attack, it's really good to have a strong single ability like a bite with a poison component. It has an above average movement speed as well as a 40-foot climb speed. It has a spider climb ability, so it can climb on ceilings, and has a couple of abilities related to webs, plus an even higher stealth value than the Panther, with a +7 to its stealth skill, so it's one of the stealthiest animal companions. It also has 10 feet of blind sight, so it can attack invisible targets, and it has decent baseline AC and health. But its health is right below the value where the Ranger HP boost would boost up to 12, so it would have the same health as a Flying Snake or a Stirge if taken as an animal companion at level 3. Although really, the only benefit it has over the Flying Snake or Stirge is a slightly higher damage with its basic attack, and the ability to sneak around by just climbing on ceilings with its high stealth modifier. And at number 4, we have the Beast of the Land, another one of the animal companions available from the Primal Beast feature in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The Beast of the Land is able to deal around 12 damage on average, assuming it gets its charge feature in, which works almost exactly like the Panther's Pounce, where you have to move 20 feet in a straight line towards a target and then attack, and then you get to deal an additional 1d6 slashing damage, and then the target has to succeed a strength saving throw or be knocked prone. Now, the Beast of the Land is only able to do around the same amount of damage as the Giant Wolf Spider, and this is assuming it activates its charge feature. But the Beast of the Land also has the exact same speed as the Wolf Spider, 40 baseline and 40 climb speed. You can also modify the Beast of the Land to look like whatever you want, so you don't have to carry around an ugly spider if you're the kind of person who doesn't like the idea of having a spider as an animal companion. And it also just has more hit points, as the Primal Beast has a better hit point value available to them, plus are able to easily be resurrected if they die. It doesn't have the useful flyby feature like the Beast of the Sky, so if you had to pick one of the primal companions, technically the Beast of the Land deals the most damage. But the Beast of the Sky is probably more useful because of its flyby ability, and just how useful being able to fly is. Without its charge, it only deals around 8 damage on average, which is slightly higher than the initial damage of the Stirge. And at number 3, we have the Giant Centipede. The Giant Centipede has an impressive 14 damage on average baseline, as its bite attack has a chance to deal an additional 3d6 poison damage, assuming they fail a DC 11 Constitution save. Although unlike the Wolf Spider, if a creature succeeds the saving throw, they take none of the poison damage, rather than only half. Although that's kind of the trade-off of it dealing an additional damage dice more of poison damage, it has a higher high but a lower low. It also has the niche feature, where if it brings a target to 0 HP with its poison damage, then they're considered poisoned for 1 hour even if they regain hit points, and are considered paralyzed for the duration. Which isn't something that happens very often when you're fighting against NPCs, and more of something you have to concern yourself when you're fighting a Giant Centipede in the wild as a player. Now, normally, the Giant Centipede is balanced by the fact that it has an incredibly low hit point value for being a CR 1/4 creature, where it only has 4 hit points on average, which is lower than the Flying Snake, who is a whole CR creature level lower. Although thanks to the Animal Companion boost, once you have the availability of the Giant Centipede at level 3, it will have 12 hit points, kind of rendering its one downside moot. It also has an impressive 30 feet of blind sight, where all the other beasts that have blind sight only have it out to 10 feet, and 30 feet of climb speed, which isn't as much as the Wolf Spider, Panther, or Beast of the Land, but is pretty nice to have on top of higher damage potential than all of them. So if you have a big problem with seeing invisible creatures, the Giant Centipede will completely counter them and tell you exactly where they are, a lot better than all the other blind sight beasts. And at number 2, we have the Deep Rothe. This is a creature from Volo's Guide to Monsters and has a few unique features about it. One of them is its charge ability, which works just like the charge of the Beast of the Land, where if it moves 20 feet in a straight line towards the target and attacks, the target will take an additional 2d6 piercing damage, which is a full damage dice higher than the Beast of the Land's charge ability. This is because normally, the charge does not hit that hard when done with medium creatures. And that's the damage dice of a huge or large creature that have the charge ability. Because remember, you can only take a medium or small creature as an animal companion. There are other beasts at the CR rating who have the charge that hit this hard as well. The Deep Rothe is just the only one that has a 2d6 damage dice while also being a medium creature, which allows it to deal around 14 damage on average baseline if you include the charge damage. Otherwise, its basic attack is only around 7 damage on average baseline. So including its charge, it's able to hit for around the same amount of damage as a Giant Centipede, except there's no saving throws involved with its charge. If you're able to move the required amount of feet and land your attack, then they just take the extra damage. Unlike the Panther, who requires a failed saving throw and an additional attack, and unlike the Giant Centipede, who can deal no poison damage if they save a pretty easy Constitution save. Although, once you have multi-attack, the poison damage becomes a lot more valuable, as it's just easier to try to get the extra damage than it is to try to go for the pounce or charge. But the Deep Rothe also has another unique feature about itself. It's one of the few beasts in the game that can cast a spell, as it has the ability to cast cantrip Dancing Lights at will. Dancing Lights basically allows you to create little orbs that provide the same amount of light as a torch, and you can move them around in order to provide light for the party. It doesn't do any damage, but it's a nice convenience to have so you don't have to hold torches. Now, its ability to have a cantrip is not why it tops this list. It's definitely because it has competitive damage with its charge feature, but it's also still not as good as the number 1 spot on this list. And at number 1, we have the Giant Poisonous Snake, who's able to deal an impressive 16 damage on average baseline with its Bite ability. Its Bite ability has a 10-foot reach, which means it can attack without ever getting into melee range, so it doesn't need to have flyby in order to maneuver around the battlefield. It also allows it to have a higher range to have opportunity attacks, allowing it to get in more attacks on average than normal beasts. And the reason it's able to deal so much damage is because it has a poison component to its Bite, which deals an additional 3d6 poison damage just like the Giant Centipede, although if the creature succeeds the saving throw, they still take half the damage instead of taking none of it like they do with the Centipede. And half of 3d6 damage is still around 11 damage on average, which is about the same as the Giant Wolf Spider that successfully deals its full amount of poison damage. So even at a failed saving throw, it can still do more damage than a Wolf Spider. If it successfully deals the entire amount of poison damage, then it's the hardest hitting beast in the game at the CR level. It also has 10 feet of blind sight, which is helpful for locating invisible targets, and even has 30 feet of swim speed, which I'm sure is only there to make sure druids can't turn into this beast at low levels, but isn't a problem for animal companions, and it's just a neat little bonus to Beastmaster Rangers instead, who can take the Giant Poisonous Snake no problem. Now, its hit point values are the same as the Giant Wolf Spider, so it will just go up to 12 HP once you get at level 3. But its AC is also really high for its CR level, with a baseline of 14, that would go up to 16 as soon as you obtain it as a Beastmaster Ranger. So it has the highest damaging attack, it is one of the only beasts that has a range on its attack, so it doesn't need to go into melee range, has blind sight, and one of the highest ACs. So the Giant Poisonous Snake is just kind of a beast when it comes to being the best. So it's really hard to beat the Giant Poisonous Snake when it comes to being the best animal companion for Beastmaster Rangers. But that doesn't mean it's always the best in all situations, because at high levels the animal companion doesn't hit for very competitive damage, so you might be more interested in the utility of the beast instead, in which case the Giant Frog has way more utility with its Restrain condition. Or if you don't want to use your actions commanding your beast every turn, the Stirge is able to deal the most amount of damage for the least amount of actions required on your part. And if you just want a small little animal companion that's able to function the same way as a pet for the Flying Familiar spell, then the Flying Snake is a pretty solid option, as it's really maneuverable while also dealing high damage with its one bite attack that doesn't require any kind of saving throw to deal the extra poison damage. Or if you really want to ride your animal companion around on a small race, then obviously you can't pick the Giant Poisonous Snake. Plus, some animals are able to have barding equipped to them to increase their AC even higher, so there are options when it comes to animal companions. But if all you care about is the most amount of damage, which is generally what people care about when they think about the best, then you can't really beat this number 1 spot. Alright, and that's the list. This list focuses mainly on the highest amount of damage. So there are a lot of other companions that have some utility or just jacks of all trades, which don't really help for being ranked in a best of list. So if you think I missed any other super important pets, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments, as well as ideas for future videos just like this one.